On the corner of Allen Street and Delancey Street, there are a lot of buses passing through. Usually, it's an M15 bus running all the way from the top of Manhattan to the bottom. But every 30 minutes, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., the B39 bus will start its run here. Running from the Lower East Side to the Williamsburg Bridge Bus Plaza in Brooklyn, this bus has a lot of notable rankings. It has the third fewest weekday riders, second shortest route length, and the least amount of stops of any bus in the city. The reason why it ranks so low is because at either end of the route, it connects and parallels the J, M, and Z trains at Essex Street and Marcy Avenue. Growing up on the Lower East Side, I would see the stops for the B39, but I rarely, if ever, actually saw it. If I needed to get to Williamsburg, I would just take the subway. That is, until I was a teenager, and my mother had a surgery that made it very hard for her to climb stairs. When she wanted to go to Williamsburg, the B39 ended up being the only option. There were far too many stairs at Essex Street, rendering it inaccessible. So we would wait upwards of 30 minutes for the B39, then sit in traffic, and watch the subway as it passes us by on the Williamsburg Bridge. Taking it today, there were similarities and some stark differences from my memory. I spoke to a regular rider, who was a student on the Lower East Side, using the bus to get to and from his home in Williamsburg. He told me that he plans his life around taking this bus, because it does not run frequently or reliably enough for him. This is an issue for a bus whose main purpose it is to provide an accessible option between Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn. Without accessibility, this bus becomes almost entirely obsolete. Personally, I understood his concerns. I arrived at the first stop of the B39, Allen Street and Delancey Street, at 2:42 p.m. There was a bus scheduled to depart at 2:48 p.m. So I wait, and I wait, and I wait. After a few minutes, I decided to reach out to the MTA customer support to ask where my bus is. They said the last time the bus was tracked was on Delancey Street at 2:41 p.m. Seems I had missed the bus, even though I arrived 6 minutes before its scheduled departure. So, I had to wait for the next one, which did arrive on time at 3:18 p.m. I imagine for someone who has to often take this bus, it would be very challenging to gauge if this bus is running on time or not. But this bus wasn't full of regulars. Many people take it every so often, and whenever they feel the need to cross the river. Its ridership does not stem from daily commuters. It does not serve as the main connection between these two neighborhoods. For some, it's the way to connect with their friends and do some shopping. While riding the bus, I heard from a woman and her friend who took the B39 to buy some shoes together. For them, much like my mother, this was the best way to go shopping in these neighborhoods without the struggles that can come from stairs. The bus's riders would not be able to easily make these journeys without the B39. Without it, they would lose their connection between two historically close neighborhoods. The job of transit should always be to serve as many people as possible, and the subway has always struggled with accessibility. But every MTA bus is accessible, and as a result, they can be used to fill voids where the subway is unable to serve. A lot of times, these buses run much longer routes, like the M101, 102, and 103. For these longer buses that serve multiple neighborhoods, accessibility is not the core source of ridership for them, unlike the B39. With the B39 though, it was actually discontinued from 2010 to 2013 due to budget cuts. But following concerns from people who depend on it, it was reinstated with the intent of providing an accessible option for those who need it. As part of the plan for congestion pricing related improvements, the Delancey Street Essex Street complex will become ADA compliant. When this is finished, both stations at either side of the Williamsburg Bridge will have step-free access. The core reason this bus exists will become redundant. Perhaps the single bus that runs back and forth on the bridge will be better used to boost service elsewhere. But for now, the B39 remains a special experience.